In today's video, we're going to connect up Gravity Forms to Google Sheets through Zapier, the glue of the internet, as I like to say, connecting apps from around the internet to Gravity Forms and vice versa. So, very simple tutorial today. Using Zapier is slightly different than most add-ons with Gravity Forms. So I'm just going to show you that I do have it installed and activated down here. You would just click install and activate, and you can see it is active. Now, I mentioned it's slightly different than most. If we go to settings and then REST API, what you need to do is create API keys that you're going to paste into Zapier in order to activate the account. I'm going to skip that part just so I don't have to show off API keys and then delete it later. But it's very simple. Name it, read write, 2 API keys over to Zapier. Pretty simple. Inside of Zapier, I actually already authenticated my Google Sheets account. That way we didn't have to see some sensitive stuff. You log into your Google Drive with your Google Sheets, come into Zapier, sign into that account. You're going to check through a whole bunch of Google stuff, and then your account will be connected, right? So we've connected up our WordPress site and Gravity Forms through the Gravity Forms API keys and the Google Sheets by signing into Google and authenticating just like you would any other app around the world, okay? We're going to put stuff in our Zapier test Google Sheet, very simple. But let's go to the forms so we can see which form we're going to use. We're going to use this test form. And if we preview the test form, it has just a handful of fields here: name, email, and comments. It's important that we have our headers inside of the Google Sheet pre-written or pre-saved before connecting it up to Zapier. Otherwise, it's not going to have any information for it to send it to. In other words, Google or Zapier needs to see headers in the columns for Google Sheets in order to have it know where to send that data. You'd get a warning inside of Zapier if it didn't, so you'll see it if you forget to do it, right? So let's go and create a new Zap. I'm not going to use Zapier's AI thing because it's often very slow, and we only have 2 nodes to set up here, so it's fairly straightforward. So the first node is the event. What's going to happen? How do we get this thing going? It's going to connect up to Gravity Forms. The trigger event will be a form submission, obviously. Like when somebody submits this form, send it over to our Google Sheets. Which account? My staging site. Continue. And then which form? You have the choice of all the forms that are inside your Gravity Forms site. I'm going to use this test one. I'm going to leave admin field labels blank, and I'll call this just test as a unique name. That's more of an organizational thing. It's going to ask us to test the trigger just to make sure everything's operational. It pulled in some information just to show that it knows how to connect up to it, and we just continue on. Google Sheets is where we want to send this information. So the action event will be to, let's see, create a row, right? And I can just search for this. So if I just go row, create a spreadsheet row. The account is the already connected Google Sheets account. Click continue. And now at this point, we'll select the drive, the spreadsheet we want to save to, and the worksheet. So my Google Drive, my Zapier test worksheet or spreadsheet, and then sheet 1 as the worksheet. And now it pulled in the name, email, and comments header that I put at the top of the sheet. If you didn't have that there, it would have thrown a little warning there that says, hey, we can't find any of these column headers. You need to set these up, and hit refresh. So just make sure you do that ahead of time. So very simple, name, email, comments. We'll add in all of the fields. Well, first, you'll see all of the fields available to us in that Gravity form. So if you wanted to save more, what you'd have to do is create another column, that pertains to the piece of data that you want to save. But here you'll be able to select these fields from your Gravity forms and save them right in. So I'm going to save the name to name, the email to email, and the comments to comments. I think I called it comments. Yes, I did. Comments. Click continue. It's going to run a test to make sure that it can see and properly read the data. And that's going to test publishing that data to Google Sheets. So now we'll go ahead and publish this Zap. Publishing the Zap makes it active, so we'll be able to test it. You'll see some test information right here. Once I go right here, there it is. You can see the name, email, and comments. Very simple, very clean and easy. And now if we go to test our form, let's edit our test, and we will put this on a new page called Zapier. Publish. View the page. Now we'll put in our test stuff. So we'll go Matt at Gravity Forms. .com. This is just a test. exclamation point, submit that. Should happen quite fast. Let's go ahead to our Google Sheets. Oh, there it is. It just appeared as we were clicking over to our Google Sheets. Matt at Gravity Forms, and this is just a test. And now we have simply connected up Google Sheets thanks to Zapier, that connection to Gravity Forms. Very easy. Very straightforward. Now, you can make it more complex. The more complex you make your Zapier, the more complex you make your Gravity Form. It totally depends on what you want to do. And then you can actually add another step. One of the great things about Zapier and sites like Zapier, it allows you to create these sort of workflows to do more with it. So maybe in your organization, you need it to go to Google Sheets, but then maybe you also need it to go to some other CRM or some other service. You would add that as your next step and start to build out that more robust workflow. On the left-hand side, you can actually see the zaps that have run. You can see this is the successful zap that I just sent through as the test. So you can kind of like debug and like see how this information is going through. So really easy stuff. When you want to send data to Google Spreadsheets or Google Sheets with Zapier, this is the easiest way to do it. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you want more. If you have questions, drop them in the comments below.